Hello, this is Nato Iwasuki, and before we get started, I hope that you would bear with me. This will be the first time that I ever try to record a podcast that's going to last over an hour. This is going to be long form. You're going to see some graphics. So here you see my picture here. We're going to talk about writing mental health. We're going to talk about practicing self-care as somebody with ADHD and Aspergers, autism, with the focus on protecting your heart chakra. So this is going to be practical tips as well as kind of with a kind of emotional, empathic, Kundalini kind of vibe. So we're gonna touch on chakra, specifically the heart chakra this time. So we're gonna focus on that one. But this is gonna be long form. So if I start rambling or I get confused, I will try to put timestamps in the description. But again, this is the first time I'm doing this, so hopefully we'll get better with time. But thank you for joining in for today's Writing Mental Health. And again, I apologize if my voice sounds a little strange. I have literally been awake for about 60 hours. I kind of went into an ADHD hyperfocus down the rabbit hole on a need to consume information about various things, which led me here. So I'm a little tired, and hopefully right after I finish this, hopefully we can do it in one take, I will go take a nap for the morning. Okay, so before I get started, I wanted to ground our energy a little bit. So here you do see a graphic of a wolf, and basically, initially I was going to do a graphic of a coyote for the trickster Native American Navajo god, but we're not going to talk about coyote today. He's a little, fickle. So we're going to talk about the wolf, and I do have a graphic noise manga, which I created, and one of the artist characters, he is a manga artist in the story. He is half Native American and African American and half Japanese. And so his name is Wolf Tadashi Begay, and so I wanted to talk about the wolf today as a powerful animal that runs in packs. There's a hierarchy, there's the head of the pack, but they're extremely loyal, and they are the spirit animal I want to talk about today. So we start off with the wolf. So, as I wanted to call one of my spirit guides, the wolf, to come join us today to give me strength and perseverance as a noble warrior. So here we go. Okay, so practicing self-care as an ADHD Aspie and protecting your heart chakra. So I'm going to give you 10 tips. We're going to see cards throughout this, and we're going to talk about them as we go for the hour. So the first tip I want to get is setting clear boundaries. So as you can see here, the image, we're talking about boundaries. So the first way to practice self-care is to know what your limitations are. So things like energy vampires, things like saying yes to things you don't want to do, people pleasing, people bullying you, people insulting you, or making fun of you or calling out your name, or even criticism that's not constructive, where it's just shaming, blaming, and ripping into you because a neurotypical person does not like the way an ADHD person may be impatient. They may do something different. They may miss the details or do it really fast or have to get up from their desk and run around the room while they're doing it. But that kinesthetic learning that is good for the ADHD hyperactive child may be disruptive to the teacher, but the ADHD person needs to do that movement to get the concentration up to even do the task. Where somebody with autism or Asperger's is going to get irritated if there's a change in the routine. And I know routines are very important for me, and with all the work from home and the change and stuff, that completely threw me off, and destroyed any routine I may have had, and I'm still working on trying to get that back. There's been a lot of changes over the past week, so technically I have no routine right now. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But knowing your boundaries. So if you have autism and you have a routine and something has to happen at 4:02 and then you got to do a certain task and then something has to happen at 4:17 and that is the exact time. It has to be at that time. I have to be at that place. I have to be doing this thing in this way, and somebody comes in and says, oh, let's go to the store. No, the store is not on my routine. Okay, and so if they say, oh, so we're supposed to go to school, and then the clock is supposed to ring, and then I'm supposed to go get the groceries, and then all of a sudden you want me to go get some bread or go to the bank, that's not in the routine. That's not going to fly, and I may fly off the handle and get angry at you if you're neurotypical, and you're not going to understand why I am completely irate because you're literally just screwed up my routine. Okay, and now I gotta do the whole thing over, and it's like almost, in some cases, an OCD moment where you gotta wash your hands 100,000 times. The routine is broken. That means everything after it is broken or late or doesn't work. And so now you got a huge problem, and neurotypical people do not understand how important routines are. They're important for people with Asperger's, with ASD, and they're important for people with ADHD to set boundaries and help give that required structure. Because if ADHD, if I hyper-focus, there is no structure. I'm just hyper-focusing and that's what I'm doing. And that structure is needed. So, for example, for me, when I got out of high school and went to college, in college there were no principals, there was no detention, there were no bells, there were no teachers telling you where to go to the next class. And so what was the first thing that happened? All of a sudden, it fell apart. I didn't go to class. No detention, nobody told me to go to class. Oops, now I don't have to go to class. So what? I didn't go to class. I did the homework, but I didn't go to class. So I think philosophy class, half your grade was attendance. Well, I didn't attend. Nobody told me I had to. If you were in high school, you were going to detention, or you're getting suspended, or you're going to get marked off with an F for attendance. In college, it's like, oh, well, you could miss 3 classes, and then, oh, I failed you out of the class, but nobody told me that in the first day, and it was in the syllabus. I have ADHD. I'm not reading the syllabus. It's boring. Took 2 seconds, glanced at it, already figured it out, moving on, whatever. I'm not reading the fine print. So there is no, 3-day attendance, whatever. So that philosophy class, I literally failed attendance. Got all the homework right, got all A's, but I think I got a C in the class because I didn't go. There was no detention. Nobody told me I had to. There were no parents saying, you must go to school today. So, that's not going to happen. So things like structure and routine are important. And if the school or task doesn't provide the routine, then you provide your own routine. Set your own structure and make that part of how the task gets done. Okay, so next. What are we talking about next? Let's see what comes up, because I don't remember what order I put these in. So the next one, stop sensory overload. Okay, so this is going to be a little deep, and so I may have to talk a little slower. First, we're going to talk about ADHD, and then we're going to talk about autism. Okay, ADHD. Level of tolerance for stupidity is quite low. Neurotypicals do things like office politics and hierarchy, communication, back and forth, rules, and moving the goalposts, and who talks what when, and you gotta wait your turn. There's all these unspoken social rules that make absolutely no sense, and then if you have autism and you learn all the rules so that you can actually function, okay, then the neurotypicals just openly defy their own rules which they made, or it only applies to each individual person, and the rules change if it's Tuesday, and when it's raining, the different rules, and if I'm wearing a red dress, then, I have rules, but, my girlfriend doesn't have rules, or the boy next door doesn't have rules, or I don't want to have rules today because I've got blue shoes on and playing football, but I'm wearing Adidas and you're wearing Nike, so the rules don't apply, and, Manchester United just scored a goal, so that means I definitely have no rules because my team won and you lost. So all the rules are on you, and if you have autism, I'm sorry, that's BS, and it doesn't make any sense because you're not following your own rules, which I diligently learned so I could play this little, small talk, silly game of nonsense that gets nothing done and is unimportant, but neurotypicals seem to think that it's the be-all, end-all, holy grail, really important. So I'm still learning why we need small talk. It seems like a total waste of time. If I go into a meeting and I got ADHD, I do not want to talk about your dog. I do not want to talk about the latest iPhone. I want to do whatever job I'm here to do. That's what a team meeting is for. It is not about talking about what is the latest, Starbucks coffee, or, where can I get some with garlic today. That's not what I'm in this meeting for. Okay, so back to, oops, you can see I just went on a ADHD tangent. Back to stop sensory overload. So hold on, let me pause for a second and figure out where my brain just went. Okay, so thank you for taking a break with me. So as you can see, if you were just following, I just went into sensory overload. I went into an ADHD spiral about something that is upsetting. Small talk. Don't know why we need it. Why it's important. Don't completely understand the use because it seems irrelevant. And that is a social cue. And so a lot of times especially when you're in a situation where you're in front of people, like you're physically with each other, you've got to read body language and tone and just, how they look, or, social cues, who talks first, the rules. Now, if you're over the phone or video, the rules are a little different. It comes through the video screen differently than if you're in person. But again, all of that, especially if both Aspergers and ADHD can be sensory overload because you got to put on a mask to be able to function in a neurotypical society that doesn't make any sense. So stopping sensory overload, remove yourself from the situation. Say, I can't talk to you right now. I can't handle it. If you need to leave the room, leave the room. If you need to kind of space out and protect yourself and your boundaries, that is where you need to protect your heart. Because sensory overload can be like a howitzer attack, or it can be like a tank attack, or somebody throwing darts at you, and it literally, it can happen with ADHD, but if you have autism, words can feel like pain, okay? Like nerve pain. Like somebody can say a specific word in a specific way, in a specific tone of voice, and it like stabs you to the heart, and a neurotypical person does not understand that. It's like fluorescent lights hurt. I can see them. I can feel their vibration. They like rattle my teeth, make my hair hurt. If you were to like tell a neurotypical person, the overhead lights make my hair hurt, can't you hear them humming? They're going to think that you are totally insane. You are not insane. You are sensitive and your nervous system is wired differently. So, yeah, you can hear the light. It makes noise. It is energy. Energy is vibrating molecules. Things that vibrate, if you are attuned to them, make a sound. I'd have to go look that up 100%, but if something's moving, it's doing something, and it's vibrating, and if I were to take a cell phone and put it on vibrate and put it on a table, and it goes off, it's going to start dancing around the table. It's vibrating, it's making a noise. So, yeah, Anyway, you get kind of the idea that you need to protect your energy. I stayed on this one a little bit longer, and as you can see in the picture, it says stop sensory overload, and the woman in the girl is covering her eyes. She's shutting out. There's too much stimuli, too much coming in. Close your eyes, get away, go to a quiet place, put on headphones, just shut it out. It's too much. It's going to overload your nervous system. And so I want to talk here about protecting your heart. So there is an anime, and I'm going to drop anime here because it's a big part of my life, is called Nighthead 2041. It's basically about shifting into the fifth dimension and psychics. And so I want to say a little bit about why protecting your heart chakra is so important. So the heart chakra is the fourth chakra. There are three non-physical chakras, which are your crown, the third eye, and the throat. Those are the higher chakras. The heart chakra is the gateway in the middle, going from the non-physical higher chakras, that lead up to source and the universe, to the physical base chakras of what grounds us to the earth. So the sacral chakra, I am completely spacing what the other three are, but yeah, the other three chakras that ground you to the earth. And so the heart chakra is that gateway to the root, sacral, and the solar plexus chakra. Okay, when the heart is not protected, that gateway gets blocked and shut down. So you lose your ability to connect the physical to your higher spiritual self. And so you want to guard that gateway at all times. The gateway, the heart, actually transmutes the energy from the physical into a higher vibration and allows it to connect your body, the physical self, to the earth, to the soul. If your heart chakra is under attack, you are unbalanced, and you're going to feel off and off kilter. And so in that Nighthead anime, there is a scene at the very first episode where the older brother, Naoto, is telling the younger brother, Naoya, who's very sensitive and can actually touch people or absorb their, and he can go total sensory overload if he just happens to touch you, because he's literally psychically reading your mind on your emotions and everything that you're feeling and communicating, at that second, and it's completely overwhelming to him. And so the older brother tells him, protect your heart, guard your heart, put a seal around your heart so that he is not going to get overwhelmed, because we already know at the very beginning of that first episode that Naoya, the younger brother, can actually read people and pick up on people's emotions. And that's another reason why energy vampires, people who literally suck your energy out of you and cause, lightning rods of nerve pain, can be so dangerous. And so that's why we have to protect our heart. And at the very last tip I'm going to give you here, I'm going to tell you how. Okay, so we talked about that one for a little bit. So let's see what we have the next one. So this is the third one we have here. It's releasing your critical voices within. So this is very important for self-care as somebody with ADHD or Asperger's autism. Okay, a lot of times, especially we'll start with ADHD, is that we hear criticism and correction and berating and you're stupid, you don't know anything, or how come you couldn't do that, everybody else can do that, or you did it yesterday and Tuesday, why did you do it 100 times Monday and today wrong? You did it before, you stupid? No, you're not stupid. You have ADHD, and guess what? It's called executive dysfunction. So unless I have a list and wrote it down, it has all the steps, unless it is in my documented routine that does not change and has been optimized over time to be quote-unquote perfect for me, my routine may be different than yours, okay? There may be times where a neurotypical says, do it A, B, C, D, E, and you have to go all the way through the alphabet, but the ADHD person has gone A, F, Q, Z, R, pi, 15, 126, and isosceles triangle, and we've already solved it 9 times, repeated it 4 more times, optimized it, wrote a report, came back, built a sculpture and a puzzle, and made you a new necklace, all with the same thing, and we come and bring all that stuff to you. We've done all this stuff. It's all great because it's all creative, and you tell me, well, you didn't do it the way I wanted you to. Well, I have ADHD. The way you wanted me to is wrong, and I don't have all day to go through the entire alphabet 1 letter at a time. All I need to do is A, Z, F, Q, pi. I'm done. And you're sitting there and you got to go A, B, C, D, E, F, and I'm like bored by the time you got through everything because all those other steps are not necessary. Same thing can happen with autism, is that you have a routine, a way of doing it, and one of the key things about the special interest or the ability to look at details is that we can see inefficiencies and that we're going to want to go in and fix that routine and optimize it so it's better, so we make it better every single time. But the neurotypical is going to go, nope, you can't change it. It's been done like that for the last 100 years. And so now you got an issue. The ADHD person is impatient because there's all these unnecessary silly steps and all this detail that's ridiculous and doesn't make any sense. Why are you doing that? It's not necessary. The autistic person is like, I can optimize this 9 more times and save you 10 minutes, and wouldn't you want to be more efficient? And the neurotypical is going like, no, don't change it. It's been done like that for 50 years. Well, now you got an autistic person who's frustrated and an ADHD person who's frustrated, and both of those neurodivergent people don't understand why the neurotypical person doesn't accept, here's a better way to do it. Here's a more creative way. Here's a more cost-effective way. Here's a faster way. Here's a better optimized way. Here's a streamlined way. Don't you want to Kaizen, let's do this better, continuous improvement? No, it's been done like that for 20 years. That is just, ADHD person is just literally going to throw a gasket. And we may even cause an autistic meltdown, because you're not listening. And that in itself is frustrating because ADHD, executive dysfunction, attention problems, there's communication issues, there's sensory processing issues for both ADHD and autism, and that can cause issues when we're just trying to negotiate, don't you want to do this better? And the neurotypical says no. So right there at that moment of total shutdown for the neurotypical, you have now alienated your Asperger's person, your autism person, and your ADHD person because you're not paying attention, and the ADHD person may have a verbal fight with you and call you stupid, which I would not recommend. I've actually done that once. Don't do that. Because even if you are right, it's an impulsive move which you're going to feel some shame and guilt for later. And if your neurotypical boss has no idea what ADHD is and says, well, you're just crazy, and doesn't understand or want to meet you halfway and be diversity and inclusion and actually acknowledge that you have what people would call a disability, which I call differently abled. It's not a disability. It's a different way of thinking and perceiving the world. It doesn't make it wrong. Okay? People like to stigmatize mental health and say, you're wrong. ADHD is not wrong. They're the hunters. The neurotypicals are the gatherers, and if I was on the Maasai plain and there was lions and gazelles there, guess who's going to survive and who's going to die? Okay? The neurotypical farmer ain't going to be able to figure out how to make sure the lion doesn't eat him and his family, but the ADHD hunter and the autistic is going to be out there, and they're going to be making the tools, and they're going to be making sure that they're 10 steps ahead or 100 steps ahead of that lion. Because guess what? The autistic person knows exactly where they are in the grass and has a full understanding of their preferred activity and knows exactly how the lion moves. Okay? What is the ADHD person? The ADHD person has gone off and built their own optimized spear that can harm the lion without killing it so that it stays away from his family. Okay, after many trials and errors and research, that ADHD hyperactive person is going to be fast enough to make the hunt successful. The autistic person is going to be able to track that lion wherever it goes, even if it's hiding in tall brush. The neurotypical person is farming and playing with their stone necklace, and by the time they hear the lioness right behind their shoulder, their neck has already been snatched. Okay, so I think in that situation, you need your autistic person to track where the lion is going and coming, and you need your ADHD person to protect the tribe. So, get it? Understood. So, before we get off this topic, just one other thing about releasing the critical voices within. Okay, the critical voices in your head, those voices, the negative, that tell you that you're bad and shameful and that you shouldn't be alive or you're not worth the air that you breathe, those are not your voices. You did not create them. Okay, they were put there by other people in power. If it was your parents or your teachers, you're fidgeting in class and the teacher tells you to, shut up, Johnny, sit down and stop moving. Well, if you have hyperactive ADHD and you are 5, well, I'm sorry, I'm not sitting in my chair. Okay, I may be running around the room or fidgeting or whatever, but I'm not even going to listen to you unless I'm moving. So you're going to either have to give me a pencil so I can draw and I can tap it on the table, or you're going to let me, kick my feet back and forth, or you're going to let me get up and walk around the room. Okay, so those voices are, Johnny, shut up, you talk too much. Johnny, that's wrong. Johnny, you're bad. Doing something, getting the wrong answer to a question does not make you a bad person. It makes the task that you were doing either something that's difficult or a task that you didn't completely understand, or it was not explained adequately to you in a way that made sense to the ADHD or autistic mind. Okay? That doesn't make you wrong. The answer to the math problem is wrong. Okay, so maybe you need a different formula. Maybe you need a different calculator, a different pencil, or more instructions, or different rules, or a different theorem, or a different formula. Okay, you have the wrong formula does not make you stupid. You have the wrong formula does not make you bad. You are not bad for failing a test. If it was a multiple choice test, and I have ADHD, I'm going to fail pretty much every single multiple choice test that you're ever going to give me. Why? Because if I have 5 answers, a multiple choice test, there's no absolute 100% true answer. Okay? I can't do neurotypical, well, that's mostly right. No, it's either right or it's wrong. Okay? And that's a little black and white autistic, but it is either 100% right, like the sun. The Earth rotates around the sun, and the moon is not flat. Okay? Those two things are absolute and can be proven with mathematics. Okay? I can Doppler my way how far away that is, that light, and how fast it's moving, and how large the sun is, and its volume and density. Because I have math to prove it, which is data, which is intrinsic proof of existence of the sun. Okay, I know that the sun comes up in the morning, and until literally it swallows up the planet, it's going to be there. Okay, so you can't tell me the sun is not there. Okay, so you can try, and you can try to tell me that the earth is flat, but that's a lie. Okay, and so I can't answer multiple choice questions, because if I have 5 questions, 4 of them are going to be flat out lies in one way, shape, or form, and that 5th one, that's supposed to be the right answer, unless it is absolutely 2 plus 2 equals 4, it's not true. Okay, that is black and white. That's also ADHD, autism thinking. Okay, but I may get there with a different formula than you do, because I'm using algebra and you're using calculus, you don't like the way I do it, I get the same answer. The same answer is true. 2 plus 2 is 4. Okay, it might be 2 plus 2 to the power of 9 plus, I don't know, pi with some negatives and double negatives and whatever else, you know, denominators and some isosceles triangle, you know, Pythagorean theorem in there. But I'm going to get 2 plus 2 equals 4. And if you don't like how I got there, that doesn't make me wrong. The answer is still 4. Okay? You did it one way with your new math that doesn't make any sense. Okay? I do it like, I don't know, people in the Stone Age used to add, you know, 2 plus 2 equals 4 back in the bubonic plague. Okay? When people didn't know how to write. You know, the only people who knew how to write were the priests who were writing the Bible. Okay? Or Egyptian hieroglyphs on papyrus. Okay? 2 plus 2 equals 4 to the scribes because they can write it down. 2 plus 2 equals 4 to the peasant who has to buy enough hay for the horses or get whipped and not eat that night. They're coming up with 2 plus 2 equals 4 differently. But 2 plus 2 equals 4. The scribe writes it in hieroglyphs and gets paid by the piece of parchment. The peasant is feeding the horses and wants to make sure that there's dinner on the table for the night and he doesn't get whipped. So 2 plus 2 is 4 in both of those situations. A noble neurotypical is not going to like that because there are no ducats for a bale of hay. Okay? I don't have any ducats. I don't have a place to put ducats. I don't even have a pocket because I'm wearing a burlap sack that you happened to give me because you were noble being nice for the day. Okay? Even though you didn't feed me for the past 2 days and I've been slaving away working in the fields, your fields, while you sit on your butt. Okay? I'm doing the work. The ADHD person is doing 9 times more work just to come up with 2 plus 2 equals 4 because they gotta sit in a chair that is not conducive and is quite uncomfortable because guess what? I don't like the feeling of the seat. And if I'm autistic and I touch the desk, the plastic fake wood makes my teeth itch. And you're going to ask me to like do a math problem when my teeth itch? I'm sorry, if you've ever had your teeth itch, that's not a pleasant feeling. Okay? And that literally makes your brain stop working. And so a neurotypical is not going to understand, raise your hand. What's the problem, you know, Johnny? My teeth itch. Oh, you're insane. Go to detention. You're not insane. You can feel the desk, okay? It itches your teeth because you have extra sensitivity in your entire body, and that's why the tag on the back of your shirt actually is irritating, and your mother at age 5 had to literally rip it out of your shirt, otherwise you were going to have a meltdown because you couldn't wear your favorite shirt that day because the tag had too much starch. Get it? Neurotypicals don't understand that. It doesn't compute. So like I said, those negative critical voices, they're not yours. They're projections from people outside of you who were making judgment calls that are not there. Do not let anybody tell you who you are or how you think. Those voices are other people's emotions and projections. And so I'll talk about that later, about how to work on that. But yeah, those are not yours. You are not bad. But let's... Okay, I got a little riled up there. So let's take a step back and calm down and get ready for the next tip. So this one, and this is kind of timely now that we're here, it's slow down. So this one I'm going to start off with my fellow ADHD people. Our brain is moving so fast, and if we're in hyperfocus, you know, we're doing things at 9,000 miles a minute, or we're zooming. That we're locked in, you know, we're in it, we're doing it, we're hyperfocus, and sometimes in hyperfocus, sometimes in hyperfocus when we're doing our preferred task, that's all that exists in the universe. If, for example, you're being asked to make a decision or do something, Sometimes we can be impulsive, so I would say slow down, take a breath, maybe breathe 2 or 3 times in and out so that you're not making an impulsive, rash, in your feelings decision, especially if it's something big. Like if you want to buy a car or a house or, I don't know, something, buy that new pair of, Nike shoes. That's expensive. Think before you do that. ADHD people have sometimes issues with, spending or, buying a whole bunch of stuff, which ends up biting us in the butt later. So, yeah, take a step back, sit, be quiet, take a few breaths before you make that decision, and make sure you make it from a place of facts and not in your feelings. And for my Aspies decisions, again, take all the facts, weigh the information, write it down, follow your process, do your routine on decisions, make sure it fits in the timeline, and that whatever you're doing, if it's a last minute, somebody wants to change, go somewhere else, well, that doesn't work because it's screwing with my routine. And so you can defend yourself and put up your boundaries and say, no, I can't do that. I have to do this at 4:25. I can't go to the store because that's not happening at 4:25. I'm supposed to be at the school at 4:25, and it takes exactly 10 minutes to walk there. So, no. Okay? Now, people will try to say, oh, well, it's just a store. No, it is not just the store, Neurotypical. You can just the store. I can't just the store. I'm going to need to sit and put just the store 48 hours from now in the routine, so just the store becomes part of the routine. So yes, keep your boundaries. Remember, it's perfectly okay to practice self-care and protect yourself, and especially protect your heart. If it's going to screw up your routine and cause a meltdown, then no, it's not okay. So, tell them, I need to slow down. I need to figure out how to get this into a routine in the future, but right now it is a no-go. So, that's that. Okay, so again, I get riled up because I'm talking about something I know about that I have been criticized for because neurotypicals don't get it. And, I myself have done my shadow work, and now, guess what? I have a boundary, and, I say no, and I'm not doing what everybody wants if I don't want to, and that has caused some people to get uppity and not like it because they can't walk all over me, but, yeah. Quiet your mind. So, this is the next tip. Quiet your mind. Here, we've got a little think. This is a statue of a Buddha. I can't really read that. But yeah, quiet your mind. Meditation is good if you can do that. Withdraw. Take some time to yourself alone. But just go to a place where there's silence and there's not a bunch of stimulus. And then you can just kind of sit back and just take in the silence and just shut out the noise, the monkey mind that likes to spin around in circles and, go for instant gratification. Now. All the, consuming the social media and the this and the that and the whatever, just stop, back up, sit down on the floor, cross your legs, fold your hands and just be quiet and just sit. Okay? When you sit, you quiet your mind. And that may be hard because your thoughts are kind of spinning. So if you're in an ADHD rumination, I had another video about what you can do to get out of a rumination. But yeah, just sit and be quiet and detox from the constant droning of noise and stimuli and come back to yourself. You may want to go out in nature and take a walk or go on a bike ride or, go walk your dog if you have a dog, but, go hug some trees and go get some sunlight because that'll also recharge your batteries because sometimes the noise of the world is just too much and that goes back to, sensory overload. So yeah, just sit. Okay, the next one that we have coming up, I don't know what number we're on. I'll have to go back and track and figure out. Could be 6, could be 5, could be 7. The next one we have here is identify your emotional triggers. So I'm just going to touch on this one because I'm going to do a whole video about this in the inner child. But yeah, identify what sets you off. So if someone is correcting you, but they're doing it with this tone of disrespect, and that triggers you, or you can tell that somebody's lying or gaslighting or making something up or trying to tell you that the sky is pink when it's definitely not because we're not in a blood moon, and you can clearly see it's not pink and they're just flat out telling you untruths, then that is a trigger. And so I will do another video about how to spot that, deal with it, and what to do when you're in it. So the next one, tame your negative thinking. So this goes back to the critical self-talk. Negative thinking, I'm not good enough, I will never be able to do it, it's too hard. Okay, so let's stop right there. The universe, God, Kami, Shiva, I don't know, Shinigami, the rabbit, the owl, we talked about the wolf spirit guide earlier. Whatever is guiding you or talking to you or talks to your soul, the universe, never gives you anything that you can't handle, okay? So the way the world works now that we're kind of shifting into this new level of consciousness that's not take, work, consume, but we're moving into a more spiritual world of compassion and positivity, and you can do anything you set your mind to and fulfill your dreams and your heart, know your heart. Negative thinking, if you say something, I'm bad, I'm not good, I'll never do it. If you say that over and over and over again, or other people say it to you, you will begin to think that. In this new world that we're living in, the 5D, okay, you can manifest your reality. So if you say, I want a new car, and say it's going to take you time to save for that car, you need to determine what type of car it is. Or I want to buy that pair of shoes, or I want to be able to afford that law textbook for my upcoming class. Well, you're going to have to save for that. And if you tell yourself every day, I will be able to buy that law book because I want to be a lawyer and get a good grade in my class, and I will need that book for next semester. Okay, if you say positive things, I will pass my law class next semester. I look forward to taking this class because it will make me a better person. And as a better person, I can help my community as a lawyer because I know the law and I will use it to the best of my ability to help people. If you say that every day, or you say, I'm going to save $10 this week, okay, and then you don't go get a coffee or you don't go get that street food. Instead, you save that money, okay? Then guess what? If you save your money and don't do silly things with it for that week and not buy anything, because you have, what you need, then that you're halfway there to saving that $10. Is that, 100 rupees or, 1,000 yen. Okay, so you have spoken into existence a positive thought. I will get a good grade in my law class. And if you believe that, it will happen. But if you say, I'm a failure, I will never take the class, or I'm just going to fail, I'm not smart enough. Well, guess what? You will talk yourself out of registering for the class because you're just going to stay in bed instead of going to class registration. So guess what? You're not going to register for the class, so you're not going to be able to take the class. Or 2, this class is too hard and I can never afford the book. So you go out and spend all your money, on ice cream and cake, and now you have no money to buy your book. So guess what? You don't have the book. And oh, so you're a failure, and I'm not even going to go to class, or I'm going to go to class and not pay attention and not listen to the teacher and make sure I don't do my homework. So yeah, you're going to fail the class. Why? Because you failed. You brought failing the class into existence. You spoke it into existence. Instead of doing that, say, I am smart. I am a good student. I will try my best. I know sometimes I'm not going to be perfect, but I'm going to study every night. And you know what? I've always wanted to be a lawyer, and I've always wanted to help people. So you know what? I'm going to do my best. I'm going to study every day. And guess what? You're probably going to get to that class, get registered, get a good grade, and eventually, when you've completed all your requirements, you're going to be a lawyer, and you're going to help people. Why? Because you made it happen. You manifested and spoke it into existence with positive thoughts. And yeah, okay, you still have to do the work, you still have to do the homework and go to class. But you're not putting yourself down, and you're not telling yourself what other people have told you. Because you have ADHD, because you have Aspergers or autism, you are not stupid. Okay, you're probably smarter than half the neurotypical people on the planet. Why? Because you can see things other people can't. You can strategically put things together. You know your preferred task. You know that back and forth better than anybody. You can feel the music. Like, for example, when I played the piano when I was growing up, and I played piano all through grade school and high school and into college, and I actually did recitals and did competitions, I could feel the music. I could feel the harpsichord. I could feel the keys. I could feel the sustain pedal, and your soul becomes one with the sound, and you touch God when you're playing music. If somebody has never played an instrument, they're not going to understand that. If you play Suzuki violin, technically correct, but you're not a musician because you're not an artist, music is art. It's also math. So if you are a musician, you are a mathematician, you are a Nobel laureate scientist, as well as Leonardo da Vinci at the exact same time. You are Mozart. Mozart probably had ADHD, if not autism. Okay? To create like Mozart and actually almost kill himself. I was writing a poem once. I literally almost killed myself. It was an epic poem with multiple chapters. It was like, I don't know, Samuel Taylor Coleridge rhyming the Ancient Mariner. It was like that. Okay? That poem literally was killing me. I literally, after I think I got to about chapter 7, the poem was basically creation of the universe by the deities and the fall and the war in heaven of the angels. Okay? When I write, I channel. I don't plan. I don't outline. The universe tells me what to write under my pen. Okay? I am just a messenger. That poem was destroying me. It was literally killing me. I didn't eat. I didn't sleep. All I did was write that poem. That was the only thing I heard. It was dictated from the universe. That was what I had to do at that moment and get it out. But one day, it literally was going to kill me like the Requiem was killing Mozart. Mozart died. He got the notes out. I was young. I was, what, 21? I hadn't eaten for 2 weeks. I had gone to work because I had to. I didn't sleep. All I did was write poetry in iambic pentameter about the creation of heaven and hell and purgatory and the angels and everything in the universe. Why? Because it was dictated to me, and that's what I had to do. It was my mission. But at one point, God doesn't have to give you what you can't handle. At one point, that poem became something I couldn't handle. And that poem is unfinished. And it will be unfinished. And it sat for years and I didn't look at it. And even when I look at it now, I still have those original handwritten pages typed out on a typewriter. I will never finish that poem. Why? Because like Mozart, it will kill me. But I know that. And the universe knew that, and so I had to put it down. But that's neither here nor there. But wow, we're actually coming up on the end here. So let's see what comes up next as we slow down a little bit. I went off on that Mozart tangent. But yeah, so assert your authentic needs. Okay, so going back to the Mozart example, it came to a point where a poem I was writing was killing me. My need was, you need to stop. Now, in that situation, there was nobody I could really go to and say, hey, a poem I'm writing is killing me, should I stop? Yeah, that would have been seen as, okay, you're crazy. No, you're not crazy. You are somebody with ADHD, locked in hyper-focused thou shalt poem, and the only thing in your universe is that poem. There's no food, there's no sleep, there's no gym, there's no work, there's poem. Now, of course, you were sitting at your desk at work, but there was poem, you know, because all you were doing was answering the phones. So you could poem, but that was your existence. But what was your authentic need at that moment? It was to stop writing that poem. And it was to eat some food. And it was to do your job. And it was to make sure you don't die. And so in that situation, expressing your authentic needs, if you need help, if you need a teacher, if you need a counselor, if you need someone to drive you somewhere, if you need somebody to, you know, give you some money, if you need somebody to just listen because you just want to work something out in your head and you want to hear yourself talk and you want to get feedback, then express that's what you need. A lot of times people with ADHD and autism don't want to reach out because we're going to be rejected or we feel that we are. But we need to be brave enough and practice our own self-care enough to know when it's okay to ask for help. You know, if you're cutting, feel suicidal, if you're anorexic, you know, if you're, you know, have a drug addiction or drinking or, I don't know, gambling, then it's time to reach out. You know, if you are doing something that's unsafe, you know, it's time to reach out. You know, and accept the help if somebody comes and gets it. There's nothing wrong with asking for help. And sometimes ADHD and autistic people who are always criticized every single day, a minute of the day, you know, feel that we're going to get auto reject, so we don't even ask. And there are things sometimes where we self-sabotage ourselves. And so what I said for that one, know when it's time to ask for help. It's okay to ask for help, and you have every right to stick up for yourself and self-care and practice it for yourself. It's okay. Okay, so we got two more right now. I can't believe we actually got all the way through this. So, quite proud of myself for that. I thought this was nearly impossible. But when I talk about something I do know, I got a wealth of information. Most of the time, people don't want to stick around long enough to hear because I'm strange or I'm weird. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So, second to last, forgive yourself. If everybody has spent their entire world, their entire life, telling you you're not good enough or whatever else, and you started telling yourself that, or you tell yourself I'm not perfect, or I'm defective because I have autism, or I'm a person with autism, I'm not autistic, or I have ADHD and it's a different way of thinking. It's not a defect. It's not, you're not defective. Okay, you think differently because your brain is wired differently. The neurotransmitters are differently. You see the world differently. Neurodivergence is brilliant. Steve Jobs is neurodivergent. Mozart is neurodivergent. Einstein is neurodivergent. Leonardo da Vinci is neurodivergent. Probably, what's his name? Van Gogh. Okay, that's like neurodivergent, like on 9,000 different levels of, I don't know, Nobel laureate demiurge godhead. But yeah, nobody understood him, and I guess he ended up killing himself because the world rejected him every single day and didn't see his brilliance until, oops, you should have paid attention. Right. But after somebody tells you you're defective for years and years over and over again, sometimes, like that bully who does it, neurotypical, think before you speak, words have consequences. Okay, and so if I have an autistic meltdown, it's probably because you gave me some tone that was inappropriate after you moved the goalpost, and that's not fair. All I want as an ADHD person is for it to be fair. It is never fair. Favoritism is not fair. The way I think is not wrong, it's creative. Okay, there are feats and things that my strategic mind can put together that you neurotypical couldn't see if I handed it to you with Cliff Notes on a silver platter, because even if I gave you the instructions, you still couldn't connect the dots. You don't think spatial. You don't think ADHD time is blue. It's not linear, it's blue. It's tangential, it's juxtaposition, it's 9 times. But all that riled up, take a step back. I know how the world works. I know who moves the goalposts, and it's not normally the neurodivergent. This is a neurotypical world with neurotypical rules that don't always work for neurodivergent, but we're reminded every day that we must conform to those who control the world. And so that's why, as I come to the last tip, we need to visualize a shield of protection. Because we know every time we walk out that door, we are walking into a world that is hostile, that will not understand. We can try to educate, and for me, my pen is my sword. I am a writer who can draw, and I will use my pen to shout to the rooftops the truth. No matter what the truth looks like, how harsh, how dark, how ugly it is the truth. 2 plus 2 is 4. It is not 5. 5 is gaslight, 5 is lies. 4 is truth. There is truth. I will do everything in my power to speak the truth and deliver it to as many people who would dare to listen. I will not stop. I will not shut up, because the truth is the most important thing on Gaia as we raise the vibration in the dimensional shift. This is the world of love and compassion, and we must heal the planet that gives us life. For we have harmed her, and that is not right. And so I will do everything in my power with the shield around my heart and the energy vampires that will come after me. And this shield protects my heart chakra so I can stay grounded to the earth in my physical form, as well as open the gateway to the universe, for my chakras are aligned, and I, like I said, can see you. I'm paying attention. I see where you're moving the goalposts. And my heart, because you will throw daggers at me, as you do every single day, for I am one of the marginalized, one of the other. You tell me that every day. But I have a scabbard, and I have a sword, forged, humble, relentless warrior, in gaslight pain from trauma bonds that were sent to me by a neurotypical world. But the universe doesn't send anything you can't handle, and I have done my shadow work, and I have fought the fights that I need to fight so that I can bring my pen to the world as my sword. You will not silence me, for I have a shield of protection around my heart. And this is my mission, and this is who I are, to speak up for those often silent, the neurodivergent, because I am a writer, and a writer has a pen, and I am just a messenger, given a task from the universe. And guess what? No one At this point, you can't shut me up. I've been silent for long enough. You kept me down before, but guess what? I have a boundary, and I've done every single task and tip that I've given, and I have more to give. But, yeah, we're in a new world now. And this is who we are. We are sentinels, and nobody, no one, is gonna shut me up ever again. Thank you. Peace and love. Do you see the sky brighter? Heal the world. And one last thing before I forget. I have dreams. Just like Paul Atreides when the Reverend Mother asked him, do his dreams happen as he sees them? The answer when I was 5 and 11 is still yes, they do. Remember, I can see you. This is who we are. I remember every download and every dream.